If I was waiting on the sidelines, waiting for the perfect magical, here's a brokerage to take over and it's going to cost you little to no money. We have all the staff, they're going to stay, and it's got a perfect digital marketing plan. That'll never happen. And so because of that, you have to get in over your head.
You've had a ton of success. You've either built or acquired 7 brokerages across Saskatchewan. If an agency's struggling, losing revenue year over year, many people would run away from that. Why buy that agency?
Usually when everybody's running out of a burning building, someone's running in and they're making money doing it. Where something's not of value, that's where value is. Why are they struggling? Is it distribution? Is it personnel? Is it market share? Is it tech? What can we optimize in that business, in that town?
How are you turning that around?
I am in that town every day. If you can be there and show that you are local and genuine and authentic and a real person, that goes a long way. And if you can establish that early, those first impressions are huge.
I'm excited to get you on the show from when we had our conversation previously. But really, I'm really excited to dive into this one particular story. So if you could for a minute, if we could go back, I know you were at an insurance conference in Saskatchewan, and a guy comes up one year, he's talking about marketing, did a phenomenal job. I'm purposely not saying his name so I don't give this away. And then he does a heck of a job, and he comes back. He's asked to come back again. And he basically tells the crowd, he calls everybody out for not doing anything. Can you walk me through this?
Yeah, for sure. It was in Saskatoon, and Chris Paradiso, well known in the insurance spectrum here, came and talked about social media and marketing. And the first year, and I decided, yeah, I'm going to adopt these practices. So I was doing one Facebook post a month and thought I was changing the world. So when he came back and he just right hooked us in the mouth saying, you haven't done anything, it's kind of like a wake up call to me of like, you're absolutely right. So after the conference, I met him up at the bar and we were just kind of talking, shooting the breeze, and he slid me his card and he said, hey, if you ever need any advice, just, give me a call. And that was to his detriment because I picked him up on that and I gave him a call multiple times. So that started a conversation of like, well, what do I do? Well, you need to update your website, make it mobile friendly. You need to be posting daily on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, Pinterest, Google Plus, back when that was a thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
We did all the things. And so then he's like, see what you get done, come back in a week. So we follow up in a week. He's like, so what did you get done? I said, I got them all done. Now what? He's like, oh, okay. Well, here's another 10 things for you need to do. Start texting, start this, start that. Like, just gave me a laundry list, trying probably to stifle me and like just shut up a little bit. Like, here's enough for you for a while. And so after, he's like, call me in a month after that's all done. So I called him in 2 weeks. And I said, like, hey, I kind of got all that stuff done. He's like, no way you got that stuff done. I'm like, yeah, like it's done. And I think that sparked him a little bit just because I was being persistent. I was executing. I wasn't, and then he started auditing my work a little bit, just seeing like, what have you been doing? And then he's like, well, really, there's nothing else to, teach you over the phone. So best thing we could do is probably just have you come down to Connecticut for a few days and spend time with my marketing team. And I think he was kind of saying that tongue in cheek, like, just leave me alone. But again, I'm a little slow. So I said, okay, sounds good. Name the time and place. So we, he's like, well, let me get back to you. Yeah, 2 weeks goes by. He doesn't get back to me, understandably so. So I phone him up again. I said, I know I'm being, a real nuisance here, but like, did you actually mean what you said? He's like, I did. Come down July 11th to the 15th. We'll make some time for you. Not only that, he's like, my family's away. You can stay into my house. And again, I don't really know this guy other than meeting him at the convention. So I like, the fact that he offered me his place just blew my mind. So anyway, flew down there, spent 4 days with him and his 2 head of marketing teams, learned everything about Google and AdWords and Search Kings and tagging and you name it. He taught me everything, SEO, optimization, website, like we went through it all. And free of charge, which again, blew me out of the water.
Oh, 100%.
And And I kind of felt, and at the end of the conversation, we went out for a drink at the end of it all. And he's like, first of all, he's like, this isn't free. Like it is, but he's like, I am going to make sure this was not a waste of my time. So I will be auditing you and watching you, and you need to make sure you keep this up. I was like, okay, accountability, right on. And he's like, and tell me why you're here. And I'm like, well, we were thirsty. We worked all day. We were at the bar. So yeah, what do you mean? He's like, no, why are you down in Connecticut? Like what put that into your head? Like why are you here? And I kind of was tongue tied. I didn't really know. And he's like, cause you're a persistent son of a gun. Like, and you could almost sense a little hostility, but so I was like, oh, like, sorry, I know I overstayed my welcome by probably quite a bit, but but he said it was a compliment. He's like, this is actually a really good thing, because so many people quit or when things get hard, they back down, or when people feel like they're getting put off, it just loses traction. And so he's like, this is a really good thing to you and your persistence and your ability to keep pushing. And so I've carried that with me ever since.
I think it's a great story for so many reasons. And I love you telling it because you've got like that quintessential Canadian dry sense of humor as you tell that story, which makes it so much better. But one, I think I've heard this about Chris Paradiso over the years so many times, and people speak so highly of him. But one of I think the interesting things is sometimes those opportunities do come by, but I totally agree with what he's saying. Like very few people actually will, even though he was being incredibly generous, very few people will actually 100% take him up on that. Even less people are going to just fly down there and make that happen. But it is interesting how, when those times happen, they could be some of the most valuable things ever if you just take advantage of it when it happens.
Definitely. So many people have, and this is what I've just learned, is a few entrepreneurs or, people that have made huge businesses or whatever, they're actually pretty willing to share. If you, are authentic and genuine and show interest, they don't mind sharing their story. So I've just appreciated that over time, how I've had a lot of mentors and people in my life that are just willing to give me information, because you asked and then because they're generous. So, yeah.
I 100% agree with that. And the beauty is, too, is you can pick up, you name it, from a book perspective and learn so many of those things. And I find it so interesting. So, obviously you've had a ton of success. You've either built or acquired 7 brokerages across Saskatchewan. You self-funded Mello Insurance, which is a digital insurance. To be honest with you, I'm just as impressed with that because I've been in the digital insurance space. I had a digital insurance agency, but self-funding it is really, really hard because you got a lot of upfront cost and you don't see any of that for 3 to 5 years. Was that the case for you with the digital agency?
Yeah, it was very typical. It was, I think, year 5, pretty much to the date where we're like, hey, we're no longer in the red. Like it was, it was The Office when Oscar gives him business advice for the Michael Scott Paper Company. It was that to the letter. So, yeah, but it was a lot of like what maybe I lacked in funding, I made up for with sweat. I was going back to my farm background with my dad farmed and you just had to work your way through it. So it was 20-hour days. It was just a grind. And so, me and one other person just every day scaling it up, flying around, marketing it, it was a lot. The video content, the website, the coding, you name it, I figured it out. And would have been nice if AI was around back then because I didn't really know what I was doing.
Oh.
Could have asked for some support.
It's so true. It is so true. Well, so let's talk about that a little bit. Well, one, what made you persist with it? Was it that you were seeing traction and you could see where this was going? Or you were just having so much fun building this, or something totally different?
So it kind of spiraled from the Chris Paradiso story of like, to Gary Vaynerchuk. He was kind of the online marketing guru, right? So in one line, Gary Vaynerchuk was said you should be actively cannibalizing your business. And for some reason, that just jumped out at me, like eat it out from the inside. Like what is going to disrupt your business that you didn't see coming? Blockbuster, Netflix, Amazon retail, what was the thing that was going to just show up like a thief in the night? And so I took that to heart and was just thinking of like, what is the way that insurance is going to, this is the way that it is. And it's so regulated and safe. And like, yeah, but somebody's going to do something. Like, I just felt it. And so from there, I just started looking at, well, what does the consumer do just in normal life? You know, you got Uber Eats, you got Uber and Skip the Dishes, you got just Expedia, how you book a flight. Like everything was like API integration and being able to do it and funnel it into one interface. And so I did a lot of research on that. And then I tried to like, build that in the insurance landscape. Like, man, we're brokering and generating contract. I'm not moving heavy equipment here. Like it should be an easy logistical online way to do things. And it just baffled me that no matter how many times I tried to do something, I just hit a roadblock after roadblock. Like, and again, I'm thankful for that highlight reel of Chris Paradiso of persistence. I just never took no as an answer. It was like, hey, well, not this way, try a different way. And eventually, after hitting my head up against the wall 37 times, I finally found a connection in the chief technological officer of SGI at the time, our Crown Corp for insurance, for auto insurance. They're like, hey, you need to talk to this guy in Calgary and you need to figure out how to do this. And so me and this friend of mine, Braden Bosch, came up with Mello. And he was kind of the guy that could get me across the finish line. I built it so far as what I could get it to. And then he was the one that kind of built that API bridge to get it finished. So
how are you driving leads to it? Was that just through Google ads, things like that? Or were you buying leads, or what did that look like?
This is where I'm old school, word of mouth. You know, like I started that way, using our brokerage foundation as a way to drive traffic to our online space. But then it started morphing into more like, hey, like, what are the products that we are selling online? Like, we're not selling commercial or, you know, crazy policies. We're selling tenant, condo, home, rental, home, personal lines products. Okay, well, who drives? What's the pipeline look for that? So it's like property managers, mortgage brokers, realtors. Those are the people that are usually waiting for insurance to complete before you could actually get those deals closed. So I started knocking on those doors just locally at first in Saskatchewan, building up our network and our pipeline that way. And literally like face to face door knocking, property managers showing up at their thing and saying, hey, can I talk to Gary? And like, who are you? And it was that old school cold calling, showing up, you know, with a business card, hat in hand kind of style that eventually spiraled. And then we ended up landing a few larger partners across Canada. And then that grew we were first digital in Saskatchewan, but then it was like, oh, you want to refer all your business from Ontario to BC. Okay, well then I need to get licensed. I need to get APIs. And it kept growing based on the connections we were making.
So let's say you got a property manager.
Yeah.
What would they then do? Would they integrate this within their property management software, or would they email this to like, how did you get this to the end user to then get a policy?
Like a lot of this with technology, a lot of A/B testing, right? We try to integrate right into their software, and they had like I can't remember what the company was called, Rent Moolah or something like that, where like tenant could log in and pay their rent. You could upload their insurance documents, and then you could buy a policy on there, and we integrated with that. And it was good, but it wasn't really taking off like we thought. And so then we actually peeled it back a little bit further and just said like, hey, like what happens if during that lease contract, do your team just kind of like advise, hey, you need to get insurance, go to Mello, you can do it while you're sitting right here and you can get the keys today. And so when we built an online portal and funnel for the client, easily to use, and they could buy tenant insurance in less than 2 minutes, then we built in a consent disclosure that allowed us to send that document right to the property manager. And so they like that as far as keeping their tenants and landlords happy with everybody's compliant and has their insurance. No one's going to cancel. If they do cancel, they get a notification saying, hey, you know, Billy in 12B just canceled his insurance. You need to go rattle his cage. So that really made them happy because they knew that their tenants were insured. So, it was just a really good relationship where we were helping, fix a problem that they were having with a lot of tenants that were not insured. We were allowing them an easy way to get insurance so they weren't waiting, and then we were keeping them accountable.
I love it. And it is funny how often you think, and I've been on, so I spent, I was an agent, and then I also spent most of my career on the InsurTech side. And I could tell you, I've seen this, I couldn't tell you how many times on the InsurTech side that like what you said is dead on in that we think on the tech side that's like, well, if we just do this integration, if we're in their portal, like their portal's where they pay rent and everything, like they'll sign up no problem. No, it's not the case. Like you need somebody to push that, sell that, and everything else. Now, it's going to be interesting how AI plays a role in this and people's propensity to go straight to AI. But at the same point, or to any like ChatGPT, Claude, whatever it might be, but at the same point, there is often like that final mile problem. Like you need a human in the loop for the final mile to actually get the transaction to happen. It sounds like that's what you experience. Is that right?
Yeah, you could lead the horse to water, it couldn't make a drink. Exactly. So no, the online portal has been a super simplistic platform for them to use, but you had to get people the confidence to purchase it. So the other rail or roadblock that we came up with was kind of like tenant was easy, like $20 a month, $15 a month, whatever it was. The client was willing to do that very quickly. Home, now it's a big investment. Now do I really understand flood zone coverage and water protection and all those other different nuances to a home product? Do I feel confident buying that without having someone advise me on it?
Yeah.
And you're spending, $150 to $200 a month. Well, now that's an investment. And now I'm nervous. Like, what am I actually getting here? So to build the brand up, build the confidence, that's where having these mortgage brokers or partners kind of giving that warm, hey, these guys are good. They're local. They'll take care of you. Like that's helped, but we still need to work on that.
All right. So I want to shift gears a little bit. Honestly, the funny thing is we're literally hitting on the exact opposite of Mello Insurance. And so in something I'm personally very interested in, and that's these agencies with this small community strategy and feel. Can you walk us through that? What does that mean to you?
Yeah, I mean, at my roots, I come from a small town, a farm community, and like every small town, you've seen businesses come and go, or as the businesses erode or the schools, get down in size, the town falls apart. And so, kind of in my, I don't know, foundation as a person is I want to see these small towns thrive. I don't like when big companies come in, swoop in, buy things up, or the banks buy the banks up, and then now they move it to the central location of a big urban center, and now you got to drive an hour to get to the bank. Those things just always bothered me. And so we've been trying to acquire small town offices that are either going to close or don't really have another direction to go. Maybe they're losing market share and they're floundering, so to speak. So if we can help alleviate that, whether it's a partnership, whether it's acquisition, whether it's however we can, we're trying to keep those small town businesses alive.
Okay. I'm gonna ask some questions. I have my own theories on this, but I want to hear from you. I think many people would argue buying a distressed asset. I feel like bad that I'm calling it a distressed asset, but if they're buying if an agency's struggling, losing revenue year over year, many people would run away from that. Why buy that agency?
I don't know if this is a Warren Buffett quote or not, but usually when everybody's running out of a burning building, someone's running in and they're making money doing it. So
love it. Love the quote. I love the quote.
I probably butchered it, but I think, where something's not of value, that's where value is. Like, I think they're struggling for a reason. Well, why are they struggling? What boxes aren't they checking? Is it distribution? Is it personnel? Is it market share? Is it tech? Is it like, what can we optimize in that business, in that town? And so I think that's kind of the lens I look at it. And that's what I've learned. I shouldn't say that's how I started. I didn't go into this knowing all this, there's a diamond in the rough here. Let's go find it. Like, I didn't know that. It was more so this has been a tried method that we've learned. But I felt like almost like an obligation. Like, it was like, this is like a philanthropist in me was like, we should be doing something about this and we need to help them. And if there's a way to like, that the cash flow can offset the cost to buy it and it's just a net zero, but we keep it alive, then that's a good thing. So that's how it started.
One of the hypotheses I've had around this was, and I'll tell you kind of like where this came from. We inherited a house in Napoleon, Ohio. Have you heard of Napoleon, Ohio?
I've heard of Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, there's no world where you'd heard of Napoleon, Ohio. It's a very small town in Ohio. Even if you were from Ohio, you'd odds are not a knock against Napoleon. We actually love Napoleon, but super small town in Ohio. And the examples that I kind of think of is when my partner, when her grandfather passed away, and we had to get insurance, right? I've been in here forever. The easiest thing is to just move it onto my plan, right? As opposed to, keeping it separate with the current local agent. Well, that was hard to do because you don't want to pull business away because everybody knows the local agent, and everybody will know if you pulled away from whomever that local agent is.
Yeah.
So for me, I feel that these are some of the most, I don't want to say underrated. That underrated is not the right word, but under the radar, great businesses to get because you get so ingrained in that local area. I'm curious if you ended up finding the same, because I could think of like what you just said, if somebody's heading towards retirement and maybe doesn't want to put in the same amount of hours that they always did, I could see the business going down. But if you put in new life into that, I could see these being great businesses. But I could be totally wrong. I'd be curious if you've seen similar.
No, you have a very valid point there. I never thought of just the guilt of, of leaving.
Yeah, small town guilt's real,
small
apparently.
town guilt, yeah. That coffee row is real. So yeah, you're in a small town community. There's a certain pride to that town, right? You have small town rivalries. Everybody plays hockey for that team. And I think because of that community, like loyalty and ties together, I think there's a obligation, so to speak, of we need to band together to support. And so most of the time we've found that loyalty runs deep, and people understand that if they're not supporting local, it's not going to be local for long. So I would say you're very accurate in your point that urban markets per se are more turnover, less loyalty, more of a cog in a wheel, a number in a, whereas small town, everybody by name, their kids, their grandkids, what trip they just went on, and the relationship's just different. So the sticky points to keep the client are a lot stronger.
How do you find? I mean, like, it sounds like you've done a good job expanding this. Are these now coming to you? How do you find these agencies?
Yeah, there was a while where I just was phoning everybody and just saying like, hey, if you're ever interested in selling, just in looking for an option, just I'm here. And that got us a couple just through cold calling, and people were maybe approaching retirement, but hadn't quite
sleeping on their couch. That makes sense.
Yep, exactly. So, and so that worked for a while, but now I think when you look around, there's like probably 5 or 6 big consolidators that obviously you could go phone them up and say, hey, I want to sell my business. And they might eat you up, or they might not want you because you're a single person operation and they're not interested in that type of infrastructure. They want something that has a little more meat and potatoes to it. But again, it's as ironic as it is, I think similar to the keeping the clients loyal, and that I think that runs deep into us owners of small town businesses as well. That, I don't want to sell my soul, so to speak. So what other options are there? Who's actually going to acquire this business? So maybe they look internally to a staff member, but if they're not interested or afraid of the debt, who else is out there? And so between the consolidators and maybe their staff, they're finding a handful of us guys that are from Saskatchewan, local, and have the ability to acquire it.
Do the consolidators look at those agencies? Are they big enough to get on their radar?
Some of them can be, but yeah, a lot of them aren't. I mean, I think at the beginning phases they're like a lot of small town guys. They were just buying everything that had a pulse, right? Like it was like,
yeah,
Oprah Winfrey, you get a car. Like, and now they're probably being a little more choosy. They've probably got a decent portfolio of brokerages, and they don't need to pick every single one up anymore. So the ones that are maybe not optimized, not on a really strong BMS system, and are doing things more manually, or maybe only have a handful of staff, I would say they aren't as excited to go get those. And so they're probably lowballing them an offer with intention to just migrating it into another urban branch and then losing what they lose.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not appealing to a brokerage wanting to sell and stay living in their community. They still have to look at their people in the eye in the town. And
Yeah.
so I think that's where we kind of shine, is we're a local option that's got community roots, and we want to keep those offices open.
Here's a question. Okay, let's say you purchased this agency or partner, whatever that might be. Let's just, for the sake of this exercise, say you acquired it. And this was an agency that was declining. They didn't have year-over-year growth. You bought it. How are you turning that around? What does that process look like?
I mean, sometimes it can be quite a challenge, because when there's an owner in that branch who's been there time and true for 30 years, and
Mhm.
now you're not there every day, because obviously we have multiple locations. I can't be everywhere. I've tried cloning myself. It doesn't work. And have you seen Multiplicity? Yeah, I'm the fourth one. Yeah. The clone of the clone. They have a lot of value in that person. Like, I've done my insurance through Ron forever, and Ron's the guy. And now Ron's not there. And so the loyal client, it can be actually the opposite, where you might lose something. And so for me, the biggest thing we can do is to be present in that town, in that community. So during an acquisition, I am in that town every day. I am going to Coffee Row. I am at the concerts, the recitals, whatever, the big hockey game that's going on. And I'm just connecting and networking. And I think for those types of people, they want to know that you're a real person. We, at one of our offices, I had a past partner that didn't work out very well for us. And that was our challenge, was that he wasn't present and we were hurting. And I'm like, dude, like, you gotta be in the trenches. Like, you gotta be there. And he thought there was a different way to skin the cat, and I disagreed. And I mean, the proof was in the pudding at the end of the day. If you can be there and show that you are local and genuine and authentic and a real person, I mean, that goes a long way. And if you can establish that early, those first impressions are huge. And you don't have that Coffee Row that we talked about murmuring, saying, oh, it's this big conglomerate out of, Ontario that bought this place. No, it's the guy down the road who farms and does the same things you guys do. It's their son. Like, that goes a lot further. And then once you have that loyalty bought in, then you start to, again, promote more products, more innovation, more market share. We can get you a better price than you have, because maybe that past broker only had one company. Now you have, 20. Now that word of mouth starts to unravel, like, oh, these guys are, authentic, genuine, good people, and they're actually saving me money. Boom, the top blows off, and all the policies that the old owner might have lost, they're all coming back to, again, because they want to deal locally, but maybe they didn't have a choice.
Okay, I want to go back to this. So you said when you acquire this agency, deal's done, you're in there every day. Do you already know some of these people, or are you just going to the hockey game cold? Like, you don't know anybody and you're just showing up.
Yeah, who invited that guy? Just some stage 4 creeper. No, I try to establish myself, obviously, with the staff that are there. If I can get a good in there, I'll go to their family stuff, their community stuff. Hey, there's a pancake breakfast at the hall this Saturday. You should come. The Blueberry Festival is coming up this weekend. Maybe you should come and put a booth in or something like that. And so and then at that point, it's just connecting. It's just talking. And my old man said, PR is what makes your business tick. That is everything to a business at its core. And so I've evolved that into Google, online, SEO, YouTube, whatever. That's the PR that I've been better at. But, it starts at the kitchen table, and that's kind of, at these small towns, that's how the business deals get done. So if I can have cinnamon bun with Aunt Helen and whatever, then that blossoms into something more. And so, it's a little awkward to start. I
bet. I love it, but I bet.
It's I joke we play the Mennonite game, and then that doesn't make sense to someone who maybe isn't Mennonite, but it's like, well, who are you, and who are you related to? And so your dad is cousins with my uncle Ricky, and eventually you make a connection, right? You're only 7 distance or separations away from everybody, so eventually you find some common ground, and then from there, a relationship can kind of build off of, and so that's kind of how I've done it.
I love it. I think it's super interesting. I'd be curious how many other people go to that length when they do it. And I think it's awesome. So here's a question. How do you scale that? So let's say you buy 3 agencies at once, you're going to have to do, you're going to have to be in a lot of places at one time. How are you scaling? Like, how do you pull that off?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. We did 3 acquisitions in a year. I mean, not all at once, but in a year. And it was just 3 months to 4 months every day in the first one. And then it was like, okay, well, now I need to be every day in the second one, but maybe I'll do 4 days a week and still do 1 day a week at the first one. And then the third one was a little bit less. And then you're trying to like schedule time, which again, I'm not a fan of like, hey, call, he'll be here Thursday at 3. Like that goes against kind of my ability. I like to be available. And so that's sure. Tough, but you're right. So I've tried to really be strategic with our managers, our partners, of who I trust, who shares a similar mindset as I do. I mean, for me, again, PR, comedy, wit, being able to relate to people, kind of a chameleon at times. If I have good people like that in those offices, I worry less about being there every day.
Yeah.
But again, on a new acquisition, if it's 3 at once, that would be, we haven't had that opportunity yet, but we almost did. We almost had 4 in 1, but it didn't pan out. And I would have had to split myself, and I don't know how that would have worked out.
Multiplicity 4 different ways.
That's right. Yeah.
Never mind. I answered my own question. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. That's right.
I want to touch on this briefly. So, you talked about comedy, and obviously anyone who's listening can hear that you've got a very dry sense of humor. You use this. How did you use this to generate business? I thought that was very interesting when we spoke.
Yeah, it's been, again, an evolving, like anything in life, you have to first put yourself out there and then you can learn from it. But so after the Chris Paradiso thing, YouTube, Facebook started to dabble in that a little bit, but it was mostly just on a professional level, community events, things like that. And then that kind of morphed into like, well, what is the client want to see? What's the user experience? And so that evolved into Mello, obviously, from that side of it. But on the marketing side, it was like, man, insurance sucks. Like everything about this business, people hate. It's like, premiums go up. I don't even want to buy it, but the bank told me I had to buy it, and now I got to do it in the 11th hour, and you're asking me a bunch of questions, and it's really pissing me off.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
The purchase process sucks, and then I have a claim, and then no one will contact me, and they're not paying out what they should, and so that whole experience is just awful as well. When I go to market that, I kind of have that self-deprecating humor with our business a little bit. Like, how do I laugh at our pain a little bit? Like it's a grudge purchase. And so then I've morphed in the comedic pieces of like, how do I make insurance fun and light, even though it's so dark and frustrating? In that, and this goes back to the Gary Vee point, like give all your knowledge away for free. Like just give it away. And then if people see value in that, they'll return it with maybe a purchase or a sale or a referral or something like that. But if you're trying to soft sell something so they buy your book, no, they're not going to buy it. You need to provide the value first. So I kind of took that information away and was like, hey, I'm just going to give away insurance knowledge, information, and it's going to be so dry you're not going to watch it. So I need to spin that in a way that's entertaining and fun. And so it started with me making a news anchor, Ron Burgundy, Norm Macdonald type of weekend update. And just, morph that dry comedy into insurance. First few episodes are awful. Like I look back now and you're just like, but that's and I took so long to produce that and put it out there because the perfectionist in you is like, oh, I could tweak that. That clip didn't tie in quite right. And I scrutinized. I bet you that first clip took me 3 months. And it was just, I look back at it now, I'm like, it's garbage. Like, but But now, well, maybe my new stuff is still garbage. I don't know. But I feel like it's really progressed. It's gotten punchier. More people talk about it once in a while. My kids even talk about it. They tell me to act like Joey, because Joey was this fitness instructor that was going to get your policy into shape. And
That's awesome.
yeah, wearing tights and pit vipers. But anyway, and yeah, so I just kind of bring that SNL type humor into insurance, and it's really worked well for us.
I love it. So, I got a couple of kind of looking back at this, right? So you've got, like I said, you've got a digital agency and you've got the total opposite. You've got multiple agencies that are, small community-based agencies. As you move forward and you talk about Cannibalize, do these continue to coexist? Do these all form into one? What does that look like?
Kind of have a hybrid model for everything. I never seem to jump fully into one camp or the other. So some of our brokerages are amalgamated under one brand. Some are on their own still, and there's reasons for that. Some of it, like one of our branches we just recently purchased, has a real estate component. So we have a real estate business. So, well, that's a lot of compliance, regulatory. There's signs that are on people's doorsteps for sale. Like, that's a lot of rebranding. And yeah, let's just leave it the status quo and not make waves. Even for SEO, people searching, finding, let's not touch that. But then other branches were trying to consolidate, but then it's like, well, that branch is, really out there in the middle of nowhere. Do they really even know our brand or our name or whatever? And so we are trying to, we're figuring this out. Like, from a marketing standpoint, it's a nightmare. Like, because you have all these brands and websites and things to keep up and maintain. So I think selfishly, I'd like to just bring it all together under one roof. But when I think locally, when I think community minded, when I think of what's best for that town and those people, I think sometimes it's best to leave it as is. So we've kind of done a bit of both.
And I could see the case for either one, especially for that community. If they were all in, within bigger cities, then sure, brand it, like create a brand. It makes total sense. But when you're in that local community and everybody knows it, by that one, you probably got people coming to pay in person. They probably like to know the same agency, and it'd probably be pretty confusing if it's something else. So
we did learn that in one of our branches, like that when we rebranded it to a different name, they thought we were out of like the country. Like, this is a big conglomerate buying us. And I'm like, no, it's just me and I'm here. So
I wholeheartedly believe that 100%. So Lyndon, last question I have for you here is, if you could go back and talk to the guy that sat when Chris Paradiso told you guys you all are doing nothing, if you can go back to that guy and have a conversation with him, what would that conversation be? What advice would you give him?
I think it's the same advice that my father gave to me. Probably got me into a lot of problems, but it was never...
Can't wait. Can't wait.
Well, I don't know how PG this podcast is.
Oh, you say whatever you want. You're totally good.
The one advice was keep your pecker in your pants, but the other one was to never say no to an opportunity. Maybe those are conflicting messages, but but the never say no to an opportunity has stuck with me in business. And so with Chris Paradiso, hey, want to come to my house? Yes. When? You should do this. You should be cannibalizing your business. Okay, how? Want to buy my brokerage? Yep, let's do it. I shouldn't say I've never said no, but like that mindset has been entrenched in me of like, if there's a will, there's a way. We can figure it out. And because of that mindset, it's got me into a lot of hot water, but it's also got me to learn and grow as a person. And so if I was waiting on the sidelines, waiting for the perfect magical, here's a brokerage to take over and it's going to cost you little to no money and it's going to be this, we have all the staff, they're going to stay and it's got a perfect digital marketing plan and accounting plan and everything's tickety, EBITDA is 65%. Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, that'll never happen. And so because of that, you have to get in over your head. That's another classic. I got too many stupid cliche statements, but like,
oh, these are great. I love them all.
Bite off more than you can chew and chew. Like, that was my grandfather. And it was like, yeah, like, get in over your head and swim and figure it out. And I think because of that, yes, it's been a strain at times. Like, one of our first offices we acquired, I had a partner with it at the time, and And within a year and a half, we acquired another brokerage as well. So we had 2 locations. The staff said, we're done. We're out of these offices unless he goes. It's him or us. It was a team or the coach kind of thing. And the reason that like this partnership and these acquisitions even happened was this whole never say no to an opportunity. I was eager to grow. I was eager to make a splash. I was hungry in the supermarket. And this guy said, hey, we should partner and do this. And it was a terrible decision to partner with this person. Now, would I have bought these 2 brokerages without him? Probably not, because I was building Mello. I was doing all these other things. And he was supposed to be the guy in that office managing it. And it went terribly. I got sued. It was one of the hardest moments of my professional career. I'm heavily drinking, all the things. And then I did 75 hard. I got back into shape. I cleaned up my habits and I became more resilient, more unafraid than I've ever been in my life. Well, that doesn't happen unless I just dive in. So dive in, figure, whether it's marketing, it doesn't matter what avenue in it, insurance or not, dive in, figure it out.
I love it. I mean, the reality is I definitely subscribe to that, right? Like you're pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. You're never going to grow unless you're outside of that comfort zone. And it does not mean that's going to be easy. Just because it's a good opportunity does not mean that it's going to be easy to say yes to it. So I love that. Lyndon, this has been a ton of fun. I've laughed quite a bit on this episode. I love it, man. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Callan, for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.